Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I am Kenneth Shark Kinney, your host and Chief Shark Officer. Let me tell you about an amazing sponsor who helps make this show possible. I hope that you'll take a look at Drips, the founders of conversational texting, where they use conversational AI to help you reach customers where they're most responsive, and that's on their phones. And working with major brands like 3 Day Blinds, Liberty Mutual, Credit Repair, and Gainsco, Drips is leading the way for some of the biggest brands in the world to improve engagement rates and outcomes for their prospects and customers. And now back to the show. You likely get hundreds of emails that are ignored, and digital ads you often completely ignore that are well in the thousands. But how many pieces of direct mail do you get anymore? When you talk about a marketing campaign, direct mail is often not part of the conversation with most digital marketers, despite often being over-indexed on some digital channels. But performance marketers know that it shouldn't be forgotten as part of your mix. Then some questions arise. Should you consider investing more in direct mail? How should direct mail work with other channels in a campaign? And is the Mailbox the New Inbox? Dave Fink is the CEO and co-founder of Postie, a marketing technology company that leverages direct mail to perform like a digital channel. And on this episode, we'll discuss direct mail, over-indexed on digital, cross-channel optimization, leveraging data for better performance marketing, using great creative not just on digital channels, but also on direct mail, finding enough expertise in a channel, costs for paper and ink, the sophistication of ad platforms, measurement, surfing, dolphins, TV mailman calls to action, and a lot more. So let's tune in to a digital marketer gone posty with a shark who gets a stamp of approval on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. Would you please tell us a little bit about your background and your career to date?
Sure. First, thanks for having me. I've spent probably close to 25 years now in consumer internet, and I think what's kept my career interesting, at least to me, is that I've had the opportunity to kind of oscillate back and forth between being on the brand side and helping grow mostly direct to consumer brands, or alternatively, jumping in with marketing technology companies and building marketing software that helps enable direct-to-consumer brands to take advantage of emerging channels and competitive advantage. And right now I'm with my current company, I'm on the marketing technology side. But I absolutely love engaging with the brand set that we work with, and I think I have a lot of empathy for what marketers and both big and small companies struggle with on a daily basis.
So I know what we're going to talk a lot about today is what you call the mailbox is the new inbox. And as somebody that's worked heavily in lead gen for a lot of my career, both in digital marketing, TV, direct mail, and all those, I think this is a fascinating subject because it starts to combine a lot of the channels. When you talk to marketers today about direct mail, what is generally the response that you get, whether they're marketing or digital marketing?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you specifically use the time today, but Postie has been around for about 6 years now. And I think the nature of the conversation has evolved even during those, that kind of relatively short period of time. Today, my experience is that more marketers are aware that direct mail is a powerful channel, and they've been tipped off, whether it's from a colleague or something they've seen in the competitive market, that direct mail can be managed more like a digital channel, leveraging data and optimization and more dynamic integration with their full marketing stack. And that historically wasn't the case. Direct mail was, for many brands, was a big portion of their marketing budget, but was always kind of managed off in the corner, versus integrated with their omni-channel strategies, which typically were digital first. When we started Postie, the number one thing that we heard over and over again was, "Oh, like get me off of social, get me off of this hamster wheel of kind of a singular foul point in my growth. channel. And I say that, that was like literally almost word for word what we hear time and time again from brands. And what they didn't really mean is I want to stop advertising on Instagram and Facebook, et cetera. But they did recognize that that they were way over indexed in one specific channel that had a lot of power over them. And when we started talking about direct mail as a marketing channel, not just a piece of paper or a postcard or a catalog or an envelope, all of a sudden they started realizing that this is about marketing tactics, strategies, and KPIs. It's not about a specific channel, and that's the conversation we have nowadays more than ever is not so much about direct mail, but what are your marketing objectives? What are the challenges and pain points that you have? What are the targets in your P&L that you need to hit this month, this quarter, this year? And then exploring if direct mail is a good fit for them. And those are really fun conversations.
Yeah, what is old is definitely new again. So when you talk to people now, what's the general hesitancy? If somebody's hesitant to do direct mail, why is that so?
I think there are probably two potential blockers that I think that are slowly dissipating. One is, how do you do it? We have no expertise in-house. No one in our team has ever done direct mail before. That's a scary channel. We know a lot about programmatic and display and retargeting and search and social, but we don't know anything about offline or certainly direct mail. So that's one challenge and concern. The other is cost, and like all marketing channels that are quantitative in nature, you need to make an investment in a channel and go through kind of that mental commitment of being willing to invest, test, and optimize to get the full benefit of the channel. Those are the two hurdles, and very rarely do they end up being blockers. They more just become conversation points that we address as we get to know brands and brands get to know us.
Well, and oftentimes too, I think for a lot of marketers, it's also about audience targeting. They know how to retarget someone because that's been a specialty for many years. But the person living next door, a direct mail list or mail to everywhere, they don't know how to target those people as a whole as well. So I think it's interesting.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you think about, look, we'll take Facebook and Instagram, and most marketers have become pretty savvy about how to leverage their first party data against Facebook's data graph to be able to build lookalikes and run segmentation and certainly social retargeting. And I kind of I like to tease even myself that the reality is that the sophistication of Facebook's ad platform has made us all look really smart as marketers over the last decade. I think we have gotten smarter and our expectations are higher, but those platforms, because of their size and scale, have been able to invest in data science and structural data engineering and really given us tools to target our prospects, consumers with pinpoint accuracy and get really efficient, at least in our tactics and targeting. The reality is direct mails offer that for the better part of a century.
Absolutely.
It's just been a very analog process, or it's been a black box where you contract with a data provider and they're kind of doing it all for you, or an agency's doing it all for you. And for us, what really got us to even think about making this investment in building a company around the channel was seeing the value of technology in digital media. And we spent better part of 2 decades focused on digital, but recognizing that that anybody can be reached via their mailbox. It's nobody owns anyone's mailbox. It's not the walled gardens that are social or search, where you're always paying that tax to reach consumers on a specific platform. There's no shortage of really interesting data, and with modern mathematical technology or tools and technology like machine learning the ability to build predictive models and measurement. Direct mail data can be used in conjunction with a brand's first-party data to be just as targeted, just as efficient, just as effective as again, search and social and retargeting and programmatic. And there is direct measurement there, and those things like were really exciting to us. But what was missing was the technology layer. There wasn't a set of tools to actually make the channel behave dynamically and kind of line up with the expectations of how marketing teams and individuals engage with their channels right now. And so that to us was kind of that final layer to help bring advertisers to direct mail, but not thinking about it as a channel where you're procuring paper and ink and lists, but where you're able to attack a marketing objective, goal, pain point, leveraging the channel alongside of all of your other channels.
One of the things that I absolutely love about direct mail as well, and you mentioned measurement, I wanted to briefly touch on, is how you're looking at measurement with the brands you work with, because email, which has been highly oversaturated, that your click-through rates are going to be 2 to 3% at best. Response rates are going to be less than 1%, but direct mail is, I think, roughly in what, the 6%, 5-6%. I mean, it's a remarkably higher based on the number of pieces that you send out.
It certainly can be, and it also depends on the specific use case. If you're
creative,
prospecting,
everything,
versus CRM and re-engaging your existing customer bases, but the response rates are exponentially higher than you would see from a digital channel, which is important because there's a cost associated with the channel. But we're a quantitative platform. There measurements built into what we do in every campaign is tracked and measured and analyzed. And we see day in, day out from, hundreds of millions of pieces of mail, tens of thousands of campaigns and thousands of advertisers that the response rate, leads to positive ROI or achievement of the brand's specific marketing objective. I mean, look, the beauty of direct mail is that you're starting with data, right? You need to tell the U.S. Postal Service where, to deliver each specific ad. And most brands have some level of direct relationship with their consumers and are capturing, data on those individuals to be able to build long-term relationships with them. And so there's no shortage of capabilities, both, kind of traditional, being able to match an address of a purchaser back to an address of a ad recipient. But there's also digital fingerprints that can be used to also provide insights into conversion rate, response rate, return on ad spend, et cetera. And that's what makes this channel so powerful. And the reality is that this is the ability to target and measure indirect mail is nothing new. There were direct mail based brands that were doing this well before there was an internet. It just wasn't super clean. It was analog. It was done off spreadsheets, and now there's software that can clean that up, which leads to better results, better understanding, better insights, more efficiency.
When you think about this, though, we've oversaturated so many different inboxes, if you will. How do you go about, with the clients you work with, coordinating direct mail with other digital marketing efforts?
Well, it's certainly case by case, right? There's no cookie cutter. If you do this, then it'll work like every other brand campaign. So strategy is a big component of kind of aligning direct mail with the rest of your marketing stack. And I think what's interesting for us is that because we're a platform, that technology solution allows us to work with a high volume and a tremendous range of advertisers, ranging from Fortune 40 advertisers in a number of different product or service verticals, down to your $10 million a year digital native brand that was stood up a couple of years ago and is fast growing. I think the insights that we as a platform and the individuals that are building tools and technologies here at Postie have over kind of the traditional, more analog, maybe agency-driven direct mail execution is that we're able to learn at warp speed. And certainly, we focus on being the technology layer and the platform. We think about ourselves as the direct mail channel management solution, but we also, because we're educating the market, whether that's teaching a brand who's never done direct mail how to think through strategies and tactics, or whether that's engaging with a 300-person marketing team that's sending tens of, if not hundreds of millions of pieces of mail a year, and teaching them some kind of more modern use cases for the channel. It all starts with understanding the specific marketers' goals and objectives, brainstorming with them a bit, helping them understand the full capability of the channel. But from us, it always starts with the marketing goal. It's not again direct mail in a vacuum. It's what channels are you working with? What have you learned so far? What's working and what's not working? Where are you finding challenges? What do you need to accomplish this year? And let's think of everything from targeting, execution, timing, scale, optimization, creative, all of those levers that you're pulling on search and social or programmatic. Those are the same levers that you can be pulling in direct mail. And again, it just, it's a matter of understanding each marketer's need.
Obviously, this depends on a case-by-case basis, but let's talk about a use case for small to medium-sized businesses that are going to blanket an area with direct mail pieces. When and where are you starting this? Where are you engaging with direct mail as part of the mix that includes digital, email, social, other channels, etc.? And what's your approach to leveraging that data in order to move a campaign forward?
So we think we start kind of in the biggest buckets of marketing goals, and you kind of work your way down. So really in all channels, they're when you think about the full funnel, oftentimes with growth brands, the holy grail is prospecting. It's new customer acquisition. It's how do you help my business grow by finding new high value customers. And direct mail has always, a tremendous portion of direct mail budgets have gone into prospecting. On the other end of the kind of marketing funnel, is all the CRM tactics, and that could be anything from lifetime value extension tactics. How do you build more value from your existing customers, increase frequency of purchase, increase average order value, drive referrals, cross-sell, upsell. But then there's also the re-engagement portion of CRM, right? If you're a data-driven company, you have a segment of your customer base that's lapsed, and you're looking to re-engage them. Direct mail can be a highly effective tool there. Then, with all of the first-party data assets that most brands have been created, whether that's digital first-party engagement data from websites and microsites and lead funnels, et cetera. All that data can be used to kind of lubricate the funnel and drive efficiency from dollars that you're already investing. You're pushing traffic to your website, whether that's through brand awareness or whether that's through paid media, and a very small percentage of that kind of site traffic is revenue generating. How do you increase that? And certainly channels like email, SMS, retargeting have been effective. But direct mails can leverage that same data and be integrated into those funnels. So when we typically think about the channel and engage with a brand, depending on who the partner is on the other end of the Zoom or the phone these days, and what they're responsible for, what their focal point is, helps us understand whether we're talking about full funnel or whether we're tackling one of those kind of stages in the marketing funnel. And then from there, it's exactly what you said, which is how do you find out what's working? We do a ton of discovery with our clients because we want to understand what are the channels that are working, what are the channels that are no longer working, what are those tactics, how does your brand think, how do you leverage data currently, and depending on kind of that what's uncovered during those kind of discovery conversations, we can certainly offer a lot of strategy, but a lot of times it's getting the brand to understand to uncover the strategies that they believe are going to work, because they have more knowledge about their brand in general. It's just helping expose them to the full capabilities of the channel.
What types of call to actions are you typically seeing work well?
So certainly anytime you can create urgency, I mean, you got to get someone to engage and choose to act now, because the reality is they're going to see 3, 4, 10 of your competitors' messages. The longer that it goes between the time that you engage them and when you actually get them to your store, picking up a phone, going to your website, downloading your mobile app. And so that doesn't have to be promotion, discounting. Certainly, those mechanics are kind of quick wins, and most brands that we engage with do test promotions or limited time offers or gift with purchases. Certainly, drawing a connection to your benefit statement and why it solves a problem, and why that problem is present and needs to be solved right away can be effective as well. It's also not just the offer and the headline. What we've seen over the last several years is the kind of old creative that maybe we used to think about in direct mail, where it was cheap designs and coupons and dotted lines. That's not what works in an Instagram newsfeed ad. It's not really what works in an email anymore. It's not what works in a banner anymore. Why would that work in direct mail? And so when you look at the type of creative that the advertisers we work with are leveraging, for the most part, it's really beautiful design that that mirrors everything on their website, everything in their social ads. They feel it's more breezy, it's more emotional. They're using lifestyle photography versus an imagery versus just relying on product photography. That makes a difference. Just an anecdote, I was walking through a neighborhood and I passed one of my friends and he was on the way to his mailbox, and so I took a walk with him. We were catching up, and I kind of had a little twinkle in my eye. I was fascinated to see if something that we one of our campaigns were going to land in his mailbox, and I you can't make this stuff up, and we certainly do some volume, so it's not super surprising, but it was one day of the year, who knew? And I watched him go open his mailbox and pull out a few bills, a few traditional kind of pieces of direct mail, and then there was a oversized postcard that was a campaign that we delivered, and it literally it just jumps out at you because the brand was leveraging all the same overall marketing and design tactics they use in their Instagram. And it was just a totally different experience. And he as he was sifting through the mail, kind of looked at something, and it was a female athletic wear company. And his statement was I think he said something like, why can't your company do something like this? And I said, well, that actually was from our company. But that's the beauty of it, right? It's just another canvas, right? And so we think about data and targeting, we measure, we talk about that, but at the end of the day, you have the opportunity to engage and wow and create emotion, in someone's hand, in the comfort of their own home, in a very personalized way. And I think that's the power of direct mail. You put that together with all the quantitative test and optimization, the machine learning, the lookalikes, the automation, the trigger, use of your first party, behavioral data, all those things that can be applied to, your executional component of direct mail. And then you invest in design and thoughtfulness around what you want your brand to represent. That's how you create that urgency. It's as much as a discount or a promotion or an offer.
Well, Dave, I ask this of everybody that's been on the show. You spend some time out on the West Coast. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Oh man, I'm terrified of sharks. So I have a lot of respect for you. Our head of operations is a big scuba diver, and
Yeah,
I'm going to connect you with him because I think you'll
excellent.
have some fun conversations. But uh, look, as someone who surfs, if I see a fin, I'm just waiting to confirm that's a dolphin. So the dolphin is my favorite shark.
Fair enough. Dave, it's a special time of the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
I'm excited.
All right. Number one, we're going to talk famous postman, Cliff Clavin from Cheers or Newman, the postman from Seinfeld.
For me, Cliff, for sure. 100%.
All right. Number two, talking calls to action for direct mail, QR codes or a unique phone number.
um, it's an interesting time that you're asking. I will try to keep this brief, but if you'd asked me pre-COVID, definitively, I would have said 1-800 numbers, although we're all about using digital fingerprints to provide clean attribution. Now that the U.S. is finally starting to, or U.S. consumers are finally starting to get trained with menus at restaurants all being accessed through QR codes, it is possible. I've certainly been thinking about, could we finally hit a tipping point where QR codes are commonly used? They just historically haven't been here in the U.S. I know it's different in Europe. So I would go 50-50 right now, partly because
you got to pick a favorite.
Oh gosh, you're gonna hold me to this. I'm gonna go QR code because I like evolution and I like creativity and I think we're kind of in that maybe tipping point. So let's go QR code.
Well, and it's also a loaded question because depending on the complexity of the product or service, to each his own. But I had to box you into an answer either way. All right. So I read in your bio that you'd worked with some well-known folks.
This is a fact,
including the Olsen twins. Mary Kate Olsen or Ashley Olsen? They're probably not going to listen to this, so your answer is going to be safe.
I'm going to go with Ashley just because I like the name Ashley.
Okay. Yeah. They're both cute and they're both rich as can be. I like them both. That one could have been either one. Cause I don't know the difference from the other. All right. You're living in Texas now, but you were living in California for a lot of years. Texas or California?
We're Californians.
You enjoy that 400% state tax and overpriced gasoline and perfect weather.
I can say we would definitely, providing we could cover the basic needs and expenses. I'd be happy to pay more to live in California. Part of it is we 20 years versus the 1 year in Austin. So just, comfort.
So number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Oh, cornbread, 100%. It's not that is, I love cornbread.
All right. So Dave, where can people find out more about you, more about Postie, keep up with what you're doing, thought leadership, and more?
Certainly, postie.com. We have a brand new website that has, a pretty deep amount of information, both on the channel, what we do, how we could potentially be helpful to your business. You can certainly reach me at my corporate email address. It's dave@postie.com. And LinkedIn is great places as well. It's I'm pretty active there, and if you reach out to me and I can be helpful, I'm happy to respond.
Perfect. Dave, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thanks for having me. This is super fun.
So there was my conversation with Dave Fink, the CEO and co-founder of Postie, a marketing technology company that leverages direct mail to perform like a digital channel. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, as he said, cost and knowledge tend to be the 2 blockers, and a lot of marketers recognize they're over-indexed on a lot of digital channels. But the hurdle becomes for most really understanding that they don't know that much about direct mail and how to weave all those things together. You want your ads to stand out? Consider a channel that your consumers haven't ignored, especially a channel that's not as crowded as a lot of other channels. Second, he jokes that those platforms have made us really smart as marketers, and that's sadly so very true. There's so much pinpoint accuracy and helps us become really efficient. But direct mail has a lot of those capabilities. As he said, it's just been in analog form. So another reason to at least consider direct mail is it's gotten a lot cleaner than you probably think it has. Third, what a great reminder about creative. Buyers are more sophisticated and they expect better design, even in direct mail. So many people have used junk creative for direct mail purposes and amazing content creative for Instagram. Direct mail isn't the minor leagues just because you feel like Instagram is the majors. You should be mimicking the creative across channels anyway, but make sure you leverage great creative for better results. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time, and I'm so thankful to everyone who listens. Thank you to my sponsor and the amazing team at Drips. Please consider writing a review and letting me know your thoughts on the show. Never mail it in per se. You know this shark won't. So join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.